Neville Goddard said, "Assumptions harden into facts." Well, what if you assumed that life was always going to work out in your favour? Is that possible for that to harden into a fact of your life? Stick with me for the next 10 to 15 minutes because I'm going to show you exactly how that can be true for you. Hi, I'm Trevor, and when I first came across the ideas behind the law of attraction and the law of assumption, I thought I'd found the answers to all my problems. At the time, those amounted to a mountain of debt and, in my personal life, lurching from long periods of loneliness only to finally meet someone and have my heart broken again. Honestly, I felt like I was failing at life. The obstacle I kept hitting, however, was that all the techniques the great teachers were showing me just didn't seem to work for me. I mean, of course, my life wasn't one of constant misery. I had ups and downs like everybody else, but I could never say that trying to apply these laws made any difference. But being stubborn, I clung to what felt like grains of truth within the teachings, and over time, it dawned on me that when things did work out in my favour, there was one common factor. I'd given up. I let go of all the efforting of trying to manifest, and things just flowed. Sometimes it was money, sometimes it was unexpected gifts and opportunities, and once, in 2006, it was a fabulous wife. Yep, still with her. So I dropped the techniques, and without all the woo-woo stuff, manifesting everything I want has become normal, everyday experience. If you're interested to know more about my effortless approach to manifesting, I have a free ebook called Let's Manifest a Ferrari, which you can get a copy of by clicking the link at the top of the description. I think the first thing we have to get clear about regarding Neville's claim that assumptions harden into facts is to figure out exactly what his words mean. It's a fact that gravity exists, for example, and I'm really sure that Neville didn't mean that if I assume that gravity is an option I can choose to turn off, it will never harden into the fact of me floating around. I think we can discount scientific facts. I also think we need to understand what he meant by harden into facts. That sounds on the face of it like cement, which is made wet, of course, but then hardens into something solid. But again, I doubt whether he meant us to believe that if I assume I own a 15-bedroom mansion, that will harden into an actual building. Although I could accept that the circumstances could show up where I might become the owner of such a mansion. Let's not get caught up on whether those are correct interpretations of Neville's words until we've looked at a much deeper meaning. Suppose we interpret his words, assumptions harden into facts, to mean that what you consistently assume to be true about life, the world, and yourself shapes the reality you experience. In that case, it's already happening for you. The assumptions you've made over the course of your life will be reflected in your experience. You don't need post-it notes all over your wardrobe mirror to believe what you already believe, do you? But I said we'd look at adopting the assumption that life will always work out in your favour. It seems to me that that's a good one to adopt, but like anything else, it's open to misinterpretation, so let's get clear about it. Allow me please to use myself as an example. Back when life was a struggle for me, what I wanted was to be happy. If you'd asked me what that would look like, I'd have said that having enough money to get out of debt and have some left over at the end of every month, along with a gorgeous and loving partner, would do it. I have those things now, so job done. But there were times when I might have asked for something different. For example, in dealing with a breakup, I would have said that everything working out in my favour was having my girlfriend come back to me. At the time, that was a fervent, desperate wish. But can you see that the underlying assumption was that my life was messed up, broken in some way? Along with it, I was making other assumptions, which I can't clearly recall now, but they'd have been along the lines of, I'm no good at relationships, no one wants to love me, and unhelpful thoughts like those. For the assumption life always works out in my favour to have been something I'd have accepted at a time like that, there's something else I'd have needed to do. Something which I now do as a matter of course. It's trusting. Now, I know that's easy to say, so let me give you some clues. First, what exactly should you be placing your trust in? I tried the law of attraction and it definitely didn't deliver. I mean, maybe now and again, but it was hardly something I could rely on. I wouldn't have trusted it to remember my packed lunch on a busy day at the office. Life itself? Well, that's what appears to have been the cause of all the trouble to begin with. So, nope, can't go there. How about myself? Well, that's an interesting one because no one has ever really identified what a self is, let alone where it is or exactly what it does. How could I trust something I can't even find? Except, hold on a minute. Suppose I trusted my own thoughts. Nah, can't say they're very reliable. It looks like we're running out of options, but I have one more to put to you. Trust the gap. Look, I know this may come as a revelation to some of you, but you are not your thoughts. You are no more your thoughts than you are the things you see with your eyes. And you've almost certainly learned by now not to believe everything you see, am I right? Your eyes, if you're blessed with the gift of sight, will see whatever is in front of them as long as there's some light. Could be a mountain or a mouse or anything in between. If it's there, your eyes will see it. That's what eyes do. Your brain, of course, has countless functions, but one of the main ones is to make sense of things. It gives things meaning. So it thinks thoughts all day long. Maybe not so much when we're sleeping, but we won't concern ourselves with that. Now, just like you have no control over what your eyes see when you open them, you have no meaningful control over what thoughts pop into your head. But you do have control over what you do with them. You can latch onto them, decide that since you've thought it, it must be true, and act accordingly. This is what most of us do most of the time. And most people find themselves struggling through life, don't they? They struggle with everything from money, relationships, self-esteem issues, lack of confidence, every flavour of anxiety, and so on. They don't seem to be acting on an assumption that life is always going to work out in their favour, from what I can see. But here's where you can do it differently. Here's one extra piece of knowledge that's going to make all the difference to your life from this moment on. So be glad you're still watching this video, because once you have this golden nugget of truth, you will never need to struggle again. Life will work in your favour no matter what. Are you ready? I hope so, because this piece of knowledge will seem like it's very small and insignificant, but it really is huge. So listen very, very carefully. Actually, I say that, but I've already told you. It's just that you probably missed it because, well, most people do. It's this. You have control over what you do with the thoughts that pass through your mind. You can believe them, or you can just ignore them. Now, let me be quite clear here. I'm not talking about controlling the thoughts themselves, trying to think positive thoughts all the time, or subscribing to the fake it till you make it game take immense effort. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It's exhausting, and eventually the ball pops back up anyway. The secret isn't in pretending that things will work out. It's knowing the answer is coming, even though you haven't seen it yet. And that's because it's still in the gap between thoughts. The answer always comes from effortlessness, which is kind of hard to talk about because as soon as it seems like there's a technique to it, everyone starts straining to do it right, which completely defeats the object. The effortless way is explained in my free ebook, which I mentioned earlier, called Let's Manifest a Ferrari. And you can get yourself a copy by clicking on the link at the top of the description below this video. Let's try to zoom in on this thinking thing. I don't know how they measure this, but it's reckoned that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. Assuming you're awake for 16 hours, that works out at 62.5 thoughts every minute, or just over 1 per second. This research doesn't stop there, though. It's estimated that 75% of our thoughts are negative. That's around 45,000 thoughts a day you'd be trying to counter with something positive. If you're serious about that, you'd better give up your day job now. Oh, and eating, and visits to the bathroom may have to go too. It's absurd. It's also reckoned that about 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. I'm not going to try to argue with these numbers. I have no idea how they were arrived at or how accurate they are. What we should be interested in is the 5% of thoughts that are original and new. Where do they come from? Could you make one appear by any kind of force or effort? Go on, try it. Concentrate as hard as you can right now and try to come up with a new idea about something. Frown a lot. Clench your jaw. Close your eyes tight. Now think. Think hard. Anything coming? Nah, I thought not. You simply cannot make new thoughts come by thinking about thoughts. It's when you're not paying attention, they just pop into your awareness all by themselves. Where do they come from? Where were they before you became aware of them? I call these kinds of thoughts the 3 I's: inspiration, imagination, and intuition. Instead of listening to all your everyday thoughts, whether they're negative or not, simply notice them and let them pass by, like watching cars on the highway. It's just movement, noise, but it doesn't have anything to do with you. And even if one does catch your attention, like, hey, I wonder how Marjorie is, you can still notice it and then decide if that's something you should deal with, like maybe give Marge a call when you get home, or ignore, as in she moved to outer Mongolia 20 years ago and you haven't heard from her since she had the triplets. Think of your mind like a river. When the water is calm and clear, you can see straight to the bottom. That's when insights, solutions, and opportunities naturally show up. But when you're frantically stirring up the water, trying to control every outcome, it becomes murky. You can't see what's already there. Acting as if everything works out for you is like stepping back from the riverbank. Let the water settle. Trust that the flow is taking you exactly where you need to go. It's not passive. It's actually the most powerful thing you can do because it puts you in alignment with how life really works. Now you might wonder, but how can I do this when things aren't going my way, when my bank account is empty or my relationship is falling apart? I get it. It's hard to feel calm when the world feels like it's crumbling. But here's the truth. Your current circumstances are temporary. They're just a reflection of past thinking, not a predictor of what's to come. Neville Goddard taught that imagining the end is the most powerful thing you can do. Not imagining how you'll get there, but fully feeling what it's like to already be there. I call that setting an intention. You only need to do it once, like programming the GPS in your car. The trick is to then follow the guidance that you'll get, just as you'd follow the GPS's instructions. Those will be the new thoughts and feelings. The mistake is to dismiss them as silly, or that won't work, or there I go daydreaming again. That's like getting into your car, telling the GPS where you want to go, and then not driving. Here's what I want you to take away from this. You don't have to chase your desires, and you don't have to fight your current circumstances. You just have to remember that you're creating your experience from within. Act as if everything is already working out for you because, in a way, it already is. Life is here to support you. Trust it, feel it, and let it surprise you. One of the areas that trips people up most often is knowing how to recognize those new thoughts and inspirations. So I strongly suggest you watch this video next, How to Listen to the Universe. Signs your manifestation is on the way. I'll put it up on the screen now, as well as a link in the description. I hope you found this video helpful. Remember, if you'd like more guidance on the effortless way to manifest all your desires, then do get yourself a copy of my free ebook, Let's Manifest a Ferrari, by clicking the link at the top of the description. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching today, and I'll see you very soon in another video.